Peace. This is an episode of Get on Code where we focus on our empowerment, Black empowerment. Empowerment. That's our focus. And Get on Code means that we follow the code. And our code is simply put empowerment. We're not doing a deep dive and giving specific, this is what you do, this is what you do. This is how we look at it. Everything you consume should empower you. Everything that you say should empower you. All the actions you take should empower you. Your political ideology, your spiritual understanding, your relationships should empower you. And if not, work to do something that will. So I'm going to do something a little different today. I've been really kind of going down the rabbit hole, and I really like Tabitha from Tabitha Speaks Politics. She did a video on Essence Fest. I've never been to Essence Fest. I actually really wanted to go this year and might go next year. Just might go next year. But what's intriguing to me is in the ethers and on Twitter, on the socials, people are saying that the African influence on what happened at Essence Fest this year really just diminished and tore down the vibe. So the vibe was different and it wasn't a good Essence Fest because it became too African influenced. And when I say African influence, I mean people from the continent. And there's a lot of talk about how that age old conversation about people in the diaspora not necessarily being embraced by people from the continent the way that they could be. Well, there was a cook-off at the Essence Fest, and it was Jollof versus Jambalaya. And which might have been an interesting idea, particularly if you're a person from the continent. Jollof versus Jambalaya. But for those who might be B1 like myself, FBA like myself, that would seem a bit disrespectful. Possibly. So what I found really intriguing, and Tabitha does a really great job, which is the reason why I'm showing her video. So check out her video, Tabitha Speaks Politics, and look at the one that's called Essence Fest 2025, why I believe the vibe was off. She brought up two things that I wanted to dive into from a business standpoint, and this is us staying on code. So if our code is empowerment, and the way that we expend our resources, our money, our time, our attention, our energy, if we're going to stay on code with our resources, then this might be a really great opportunity to look at how we could be better on code. So here's her video. And she talked about Essence Ventures. Now, Essence Ventures is owned by this brother right here. All right. Based upon what we can find, there's a picture of him here. He's from Lagos, Nigeria. All right. He's from Lagos, and you can see the administration and people who has surrounding him really look like they're continental blacks. Looks like they're Africans from the continent, right? All right. So Essence Ventures was purchased by that brother and his venture capitalist firm. And Essence Ventures is the Essence Fest and Essence Magazine. So you can learn everything you want to learn about Essence Fest by going to the website, which is essence.com/Essence Venture, Essence hyphen Ventures hyphen one. So this is all about Essence Ventures and what they're doing, right? So that sounds cool. That's right. Number one destination for the AA. What's AA? African American audience, right? Access to 1.4 trillion in African American AA buying power. So an African brother is purchased Essence and says, now my venture capitalist firm, and the people I choose to surround and benefit have access to influence 1.4 trillion in African American buying power. Now, when we use the term African American, it could be foundational Black Americans, it could be immigrant Blacks, it could be, Blacks from Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, from Africa, from Sierra Leone, which is part of Africa, from a lot of different places. It could be the Blacks from Puerto Rico and Cuba and Costa Rica and Costa Chica, and we're global people. We're very global people. So when they use the term AA, they may be talking about Pan-African experience here in the United States. But very often, when we use the term AA, African American, we're really kind of talking about foundational Black Americans, or what was the other term? FBA. It's escaping me because I stopped using that term so easily and started using FBA, but you know what I mean, right? Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore were the ones who really popularized that term, and I can't think of it right now. It's a term I used to use. But let's go back to Essence One, Essence Ventures One, or Essence One Ventures. I think it's Essence Ventures One, right? So the core of what Tabitha was talking about was that this platform, which really kind of focuses on foundational Black Americans to a degree, is owned by this group. And in this article, which is on Essence, this article is on Essence, right? I'm pointing to it. Hopefully you can see the arrow and the cursor. And in this article, and I'm not going to read the article to you, you should be able to read or at least listen. But what is interesting is in this article, it talks about how this ministry in Nigeria is working alongside Essence One, the capital company, this venture capital company, the capital company owned by this brother, good brother, to popularize, promote, and give access to the opportunities and the bounty in Nigeria. Yeah, that's the intriguing piece. That's the really intriguing piece, that this group is working to kind of bolster things in Nigeria by using something that was developed here in America. And I'm going to see if I can find a segment that's really interesting. Right. Right. All right. So this Essence Festival of Culture normally attracts over 500,000 attendees. Let me make it just a little larger for those who are watching on the YouTubes, or if you're watching the video version, right? And it talks about all the different companies that they can work with, right? But here's the interesting thing. There's this organization, AFRIFF, the African representative of Chanel, right? And they had this meeting, and this meeting had senior executives from the worlds of advertising, finance, and tech, as well as entrepreneurs, right? It was held in Nigeria at Slice Social House, place I gotta visit when I visit Nigeria. I guess I need to read the whole article. To proceed, click. Oh, that was spammy. That was spammy. This is crazy. All right, this this is crazy, right? Okay, so as you can see, I got past that that website that was trying to get me to do something nefarious. But here's the point that I was trying to make, and that Tabitha made a really great opportunity. The lunch where these tastemakers and dignitaries and VIPs and entrepreneurs got together. They were aiming to build a solid foundation for the global Black community and bridge the gap with Nigeria as a focal country. So at first, when I was hearing people say things like, Jollof versus Jambalaya, and when I was hearing I was like, it's that old, we don't like you, you don't like us, but we cousins. That argument, or we don't really think you're as valuable as we are. We're better than you, but we're cousins. You know, we family, but we're better than you. That whole conversation about people coming to America and looking at foundational Black Americans as being less than, particularly disturbingly, those who come from the continent of Africa or from the other parts of the diaspora. I'm a Pan African, you know, to a large degree. That's how I was kind of raised. So I value everyone as family, right? The interesting part is Essence Festival for 2025, as it says in Essence magazine on their website, aimed to build a solid foundation for the global Black community. Good. And bridge the gap with Nigeria as a focal country. Essence Fest never really focused on bridging a gap with Africa before, and that's not necessarily a bad idea. But forming a collective and focusing the event to point towards Nigeria, that makes us wonder if we're really a part of the consideration. That makes us wonder if foundational Blacks or other immigrant Black groups who are all Americans or part of the diaspora are included in Essence One Ventures' interests, or are they seeking to bolster and support Nigeria? So we're going to have this event in America. We're going to take over this event that's been celebrated and it really was a great celebration of Black American culture and its, connections to other Black cultures. But we're going to do it for the benefit of Nigeria. That's where the Jollof versus Jambalaya really seems like, whoa, maybe there was an interest. Maybe Essence One has an interest that's not really inclusive of us in the forefront. And that's disturbing because just not the feel that most of us had about Essence Fest. So I might go next year. I might go in the future. I might go so I can see how it's constructed, so I can do for self and do for us. I'm not saying that their focus is wrong. It's just intriguing for empowerment to see that one of the ways to empower yourself is to go somewhere else, invest in something that's already built, develop it, and send the resources back home. And in America, that's really kind of been our immigrant story. Those who immigrate, they take the resources available here and they send them back home. And that's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's empowerment. So I think this is a really intriguing display of empowerment, maybe at Black American expense, possibly. So what should we learn from this, and why should we study this? Because we need to see whenever a power move is made, how we can use a similar power move to empower ourselves and those we care about. A powerful person can serve themselves and anybody else they want to serve. A valuable person works for a powerful person, and a person with little value can't do anything for themselves. Let's get powerful. So let's look at options and situations like this and see how we can do the same for ourselves. How can we find something that's outside of our sphere of influence, invest in it, hopefully make it more valuable, and then use that value and bring it back to us? Now, the Essence Fest this year had a lower turnout. So when people take things over, sometimes things go up, sometimes things go down, sometimes things stay the same. In this case, it looks like the demographic, the data is showing that it went down. The attendance was lower. The vendor participation from the New Orleans vendors was lower. Ticket sales were lower. And it looks like there may have been a lower amount of sponsorships. So in this case, it went lower. But that doesn't mean it's going to stay there. So do whatever you can do to become more powerful, because we're all about empowerment. Our code is empowerment. Everything you eat, consume, everything you do, all your activities should empower you. We're focused on Black empowerment here. So be ye empowered. Peace.